Delhi Capitals next, because they've taken our captain, I'm saying RCB's former captain, made them the vice captain, got Axar Patel over KL Rahul, who was supposed to be our captain. So there was full musical chairs happening there. But jokes apart, Delhi have a brilliant squad. But let's show the fact file for you guys first watching this. And remember, Capitals fans, please, time is now to cue in some questions. Captain name, Axar Patel. We're hearing that for the first time. Head coach, Hemam Badani, who's, of course, worked with the owners before in various other sister franchises, the Delhi Capitals. They're sixth standing in the last year, which goes on to say that they need some work to do. And then look at the first 5 fixtures. Whether it's kind to them or not, who knows? I mean, that's the first 4 fixtures, essentially. And their record as well has not been pretty, to say the least, in terms of 2022. Right, so the Delhi Capitals. Next, I'll come to you in a bit. But Akshay, does this team, after the auction, scare you? Because you're talking about Stark, you're talking about KL, you're talking about Faf. These are just few additions. They have much more firepower. Are you scared if you're playing Delhi Capitals tomorrow from an RCB perspective, for example?
Scared would be too hard or too sort of strong a feeling, but I get where you're coming from and I echo those thoughts. I do think this time around they have a very good squad. It's the beauty of IPL in the last few years where, the resources have been distributed equally enough where one team does not run away with, all of these popular stars. That's where I don't think Delhi have done too badly. Something Dan Besson had mentioned during our post-auction review. Between batting and bowling, if I have to compromise on one department, I'll happily, forego my batting. They've really focused on their bowling, and that's visible in terms of the kind of pace attack they have. And if that wasn't enough, they have arguably the best spin duo in the tournament. And if that wasn't enough, they've come up with a fairly well-rounded batting lineup. So they've almost got the best of all 3 departments. Add the likes, just look at the likes of Stubbs, Rahul, the way they complement each other in the middle order with an Axar Patel who's a who can play a role of that dynamic anchor. And then if you look at their top 3 who now will consist of Jake Fraser-Megg, Faf du Plessis, Abhishek Patel, nice mix of youth and experience. You've seen JFM do some phenomenal things last year. Faf du Plessis has been in scintillating form in the last auction cycle. Abhishek Patel will be someone to watch out for. So yeah, lots to look forward to. Yep.
Sorry, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that breaking news. The fact that Faf is vice captain, so that automatically means that he might start all 14 games. That means he'll open. Does that automatically mean that KL will come batting at 4? I'll get Nick's thoughts about it, but yours first, Akshay. How do you see that whole conundrum work out for them?
Yeah, exactly like you mentioned, it'll be KL at 4 or 5 based on situation, I guess. I don't think they'll be fixing that slot. Axar, KL will be switching between 4 and 5. But I really don't know if that was necessary. I don't think Faf was even a part of their first 11 because he went and sold. Day 2 mein, second round, accelerated round mein usko kharida hai. Usually, it is an indication that they're buying him as a backup option. And that also makes me wonder, had Harry Brook not been injured, who was going to go out? Was Faf always a part of their plans? And yeah, so I just don't know. It seems like a bit too rushed, but I mean, they've gone for it, so fingers crossed it works out for them.
Okay, I'll come back to you in terms of the batting depth because you mentioned it over there. They have a lot of options at their disposal. But Nick, your first thoughts with Delhi Capitals. Axar Patel's DC of 2025 or Rishabh Pant's DC of 2024? Which one wins on paper?
There's no doubt which one wins on paper for me. Someone's come to Delhi. So the alliance will have to move accordingly like that. I think I completely agree with Akshay on the points he mentioned. I actually support that idea of Faf. It doesn't come from any place of bias, yellow or otherwise. That I think it helps their combination further. That if they want to open with JFM, it is good for JFM that there is a Faf at the other end. Because then that would mean that JFM can just still not be going every ball, but still take his time. So I think that is the massive part of the puzzle that they'll have to solve with JFM right up top because in the Hindi preview that also we did, we also see Karun Nair possibly starting in some games at 3 so that they can lengthen that batting lineup and then have Stubbs, KL and Axar finish with Ashutosh. So that I think it's a fairly good lineup. Yes, it is high variance, but again, this is the IPL which is going to be possibly the closest that ever has been and it will depend on everybody coming in. So on first thoughts, I think they will push for playoffs as well, but they'll depend on a few individuals to have a banker of a season, something that they haven't had in the past, but they'll have to do it now.
Okay, like Nick's mentioned there, go watch the Hindi show because those boys have given you a complete different IPL preview vibe in terms of their best 12s and the MVPs and the checklist for each team. It literally is insightful to say the least. Now, both these boys were mentioning their batting firepower when we talk about Delhi Capitals and this Delhi Capitals because still the household names which have entered Delhi, which we all need to now know. I'm talking about KL Rahul, I'm talking about people like Faf du Plessis who've been involved with different teams. So Akshay, take it away with terms of batting depth, and how will you kind of marry these guys together in terms of that top 6, top 7? What does it look for you, and do you think they tick a lot of boxes like you put out here on this depth chart?
Yeah, I mean, a good thing going for them is most of these options, most of these players pick themselves. That first 11 was always looking settled, even after, missing someone like a Harry Brook, who, again, I'm not saying Harry Brook is a great player, but he was, I personally thought he added a lot of value in the middle order to them. And them missing out on him could potentially be a big enough hole. In hindsight, of course, Fav opening now means Scale can bat in that middle order and he can plug that hole nicely. So it's all worked out for them very well. But like I said, if Harry Brook was fit and available, would that mean they were planning on benching Harry Brook and this was the 11 they always had in mind? That's something we of course will never do. But talking about their options, of course, top order batters goes without saying. Purell, Fav, JFM, KL Rahul, all in some ways either renowned based on their performances in the previous IPLs. नहीं तो बहुत सारा youth या experience लेके आ रहे हैं, so there's a lot of value added there. JFM, I mean, in fact, 3 out of the 4 are wicket keepers, so they also double up as that. And then you look at some of the options they have in the middle order. So if I look at their playing 12, it's JFM, it's Faf. Then I've got Purell, Rahul, Akshar. That's my top 5. At number 6, I've got Tristan Stubbs. At number 7, I've got Ashutosh Sharma. 8, Mitchell Stark. 9, Kuldeep Yadav. 10, Mukesh Kumar. And 11, Natarajan. एक और बैटर को कहीं पे डाल के नटराजन, like basically I've left that one slot open because Natarajan will most likely be their impact player. They can go for a Karun Nair or a Sameer Rizvi based on the situation, based on the opposition. And if they feel that this batting alone will get them through, then they can also potentially leave that slot open to bring in another bowler. They've got plenty of options there. Vipraj Nigam is a leggy that I'm genuinely looking forward to. Ajay Mandal is another all-rounder who's been making the right noises in the domestic circuit. He's been a part of the CSK setup for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, did not get a lot of game time there. So in case he also gets some game time over here, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, because you look at even the lefty and righty split over there, and it just makes you think Abhishek Purell and Axar Patel are the two guaranteed starters, dare I say, and the rest have to pick themselves. And then you have some really good domestic talents like Sameer Rizvi. We saw what he did, and what there's Karun Nair, like Nick's mentioned. So lots of options to be malleable in that batting 5-6, like Akshay has just mentioned. But even if you look at their bowling, and Nick's touched upon it, and he can probably elaborate further with this depth chart. Is this something that you're positive about when you look at DC? Sure, we'll get the runs on the board, but can we defend it?
Yeah, I think they should feel confident about it. I mean, if you have Kuldeep, Axar, Stark as your potential starting playing people in 14 games, then you would feel confident. Again, you will need T. Natarajan to come good at the back end. Again, depends on how the venue plays out. So that is also crucial. But they have people who have done this job for a living enough number of times. And again, if you speak about backups, you probably feel, oh, Chamira can do the job early up top. You'll have Mohit Sharma if you want somebody for the back end. Again, Madhu Tiwari is someone who we haven't seen yet, but we could see in this very season, along with Vipraj Nigam, who I feel should be tried at times, because you'll have to throw some surprises at the opposition, and that is something you can do with Ajay Mandal as well, who is your finger spinning option. So they have the people, they have the squad is also there in terms of backups. I just feel they'll have to have some of their players have a consistent season in terms of Axar Patel to take a lot of runs and Stark to do well. Because again, you can say they have backup, they have other options, but I think Stark could afford a season at KKR because he had Vaibhav Arshit doing the job. I think Delhi, in my opinion, do need Stark to strike up consistently, because then that will help the bowling feel a lot more confident about itself, because they have the people who can even defend or just bowl to a below par score. We can do this job, but they'll need Stark to do really well.
Yeah, and I think automatically they have 4 left-handed bowlers who's going to be bowling 16 overs for sure. Akshar, Kuldeep, Natarajan, Stark. You almost think that's a guarantee. And maybe left is right is a formula for them. Let's see where the boys have placed Delhi in terms of their predictions. And hopefully the graphic has come out right. Don't shoot me, guys. But this is what we've got. Right. My predictions first. The hero is going to be my KLR. Should have gone to Bangalore. Wasn't to be. But I think he's definitely going to pack a punch in the middle. And I don't know whether captaincy and vice captaincy not burdening him will actually bring out the best of Rahul. We've always wanted the 2018 Rahul. Only time will tell. The zero, I feel Stark won't have the same success that he did in KKR. So I think he will be kind of all over the shop. That's my gut feel. And I've also put DC in my top 4 like Akshay has. So speaking of Akshay's prediction, then we'll come to Nick's. Akshay, your hero is bowling attack, but your zero is GFM. Why?
I mean, first of all, he's not been in the greatest of form, and secondly, form isn't necessarily the concern, it's the manner of dismissals. Bowlers have clearly identified what his weaknesses are, and they've exploited it time and time again. And it almost seemed like he did not work on it. Do not let that last BBL innings fool you. I mean, there were a lot of people actually, defending JFM by saying, "I didn't see the last innings. He's probably worked on it and all." भाई वो surface देखो, फिर opposition देखो, and also see what the scores were in that very game. Just see what Josh Brown did and everything. But anyway, so yeah, I don't think JFM will be able to replicate what he did in the first season. I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't see that happening. And with the bowling attack, of course, the less said the better. We've already discussed enough. Genuinely looking forward to it. And another name that we haven't spoken about, Mukesh Kumar. He'll also be featuring consistently for them. Someone I'm also looking forward to amongst the other options that they have. So yeah, fingers crossed it'll go well for them.
Okay, so bowling attack is a hero and zero can be clearly seen. So Nikhil has a completely different take. So he agrees with me in terms of our hero selection. Love that, Nix. But your zero is finishing. Why do you say that?
Yeah, so the finishing angle possibly covers Akshay also a bit where he says JFM not being in form, because then that could lead to people possibly playing up and down. You'll have to look for more options there. They will still need to see who is their replacement for Harry Brook, and that could play a clear role in terms of where people bat. Because as Akshay said, I don't know if Faf was always going to be in that plan. It is good that he's there, but he'll sort. But then what do you do with Karun Nair? Is he going to bat at 3? If yes, KL will bat in that middle order for the first time in a while. So you do not know how that will go. Now Axar can bat at 5 or KL can bat at 4, but then that 4, 5, 6, it's very good. You have subs as well. But if JFM doesn't start, does somebody go up? What do they do? So I think the finishing is even more particular because they'll have to get that right 11. And if the right 11, the 5, 6, 7 are tricky, I think that is the only reason why I put them in the mid-table model, because I think they'll have to come in and click immediately, because IPL is such a tournament where if you lag, sometimes you can go too far behind. So getting the right 11, we are hearing that Chanaka might be signed in as a potential replacement. Then that doesn't mean then their finishing is not a problem. But then it also makes me wonder, okay, there is no place to play Chanaka because you have JFM, you have Faf, you have Stubbs, and you will play Stubbs. So I think that's where I feel the form of KL eventually becomes not a concern, but something to think about how it will pan out.
Yeah, the Grapevine also had it. There could be a room for Bracewell to come through, but I don't know whether he's going to go to RR, and that needs to be sorted out. But Chanaka now coming through, I don't know if they need Bracewell anymore. But good points mentioned by Nix there, and predictions as well, where Nix has got for Delhi in terms of that middle sort of table model, and then me and Akshay think that they're going to make the top 4.